Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome back to my series where I talk about my favorite games from various publishers, and today we're going to talk about Awaken Realms. Now I'm doing a little bit of a cheat here because Awaken Realms makes big, giant, grandiose games. To get 10 of them, to make a top 10, I had to pick 2 games that are not even out yet, but I have played them, so keep that in mind. So you could say this is a top 8 if that's the case. So here we go, my 10 favorite Awaken Realms games. Awaken Realms makes gigantically huge games that are full of tons of rules and tons of stuff and usually need an FAQ, and yet offer a thematic experience unlike any other. Here we go, number 10, Nemesis. I know some of you are really mad at me at this point in time, but Nemesis is a fun game. It's Aliens, the board game, for sure. There's just a few too many pieces moving around for me, too many things to keep track of, but I will grant that if you're playing with somebody, and it helps if you have someone who can kind of facilitate things, and I have played with such a person, then the game itself comes to life. If there's not a more thematic game out there. This is easily their most popular game that they've made. So, Nemesis. Number 9, here we start reaching a bit in the sense that it's ISS Vanguard. Now, this one could very well go up. This one I played. It's not out yet. It was on Kickstarter, but I played this multiple times, actually. And in this game, you're landing on a planet. You are going through the planet, discovering things, finding different resources, and then there's a whole shipbuilding phase where you take the stuff back. You know, this game, now that I played Kingdom Death Monster, I realize there's a lot of similarities in how these games work, where they have 2 very distinct phases. In Kingdom Death Monster, you go out and you fight monsters, then you come back and build your village. And here, in ISS Vanguard, you go out on a planet, you find these weird things, you're looking for stuff, trying not to get killed by aliens or volcanoes or whatever. Then you come back to your ship and you get crew people. You use these resources to upgrade your ship and find new things. It is a grandiose design. So far, I like it. I don't know if I love it, but I'm going to have to wait to see the final thing. There's a ton of content. We'll see. Number 8 is their smallest game. This is from their Awaken Realms Light thing, and that's Flick of Faith. Flick of Faith, your little gods flicking discs at each other, and each god has special abilities. I would like to say there's more to it than not. There's not. I tend to like flicking games, so this one works fine for me, and that's why it is number 8. Number 7 is the other one that hasn't come out yet, and I suspect this could move much higher on my list when I play it again. Like I said, I played it before it came out, and that's Lords of Ragnarok. Lords of Ragnarok, with the sequel to Lords of Hellas, is, well, about the Norse mythology and kind of a futuristic sense where you're going around, you're having fights, you're fighting against giant monsters, you're fighting against the other players, you can even control a monster maybe or somehow get special gear. There's a lot of stuff going on in it, and I really enjoy the game. I think when I see the final thing, this will probably move higher on the list. Number 6 is Nemesis again. It's Nemesis Lockdown. That's the sequel, the standalone sequel to Nemesis. And I think they cleaned up a lot of the stuff in Nemesis. Nemesis was on a spaceship. This is more like on a base. There's a lot of similarities between the games, and you can use a lot of stuff that crosses over. It's just higher on the list there because I think, like I said, I think some of the stuff is smoother and it works a little more easily than the original game. Number 5 is their biggest game that's actually not that big, and that's the Edge Dawnfall. The Edge Dawnfall, which looks like this giant box, is full of miniatures. It's a tactical miniatures game, which is pretty simple. You have a deck of cards, and you have cards in that deck for the different miniatures that you have, the different monsters you're using, and they work better when you use them for that particular monster, but you can use them for different things. It's a simple game. You're moving around, attacking each other. It's almost like a HeroScape update. Now, the monsters are these big miniatures, and there's all that stuff going on in the game. But I liked it. I was really surprised. I don't know everyone's going to like how the game looks. Like, the monsters are just these crazy monsters and different heroes and things like that, but I thought the gameplay was a lot lighter than I had expected. All right, the top 4 were easy. Very simple for me. I love all these games. Number 4 here is Tainted Grail. And this might change because I'm about to play through the Tainted Grail, the sequels. I've been setting up, getting ready to go through that, where there's a prequel and a sequel to the original Tainted Grail. But as you go through this dark version of King Arthur and his knights, that's what this game is. You're just going through that. It works as a multiplayer game, but I played it almost exclusively. I played it with some other people, but I played most of my plays with it have been solitaire. And it's just a great story. There's great writing. It's interesting. It's very difficult, as these games tend to be. Although there is like an easy, quote-unquote, easy setting that I always play on because I'm here for the experience, not for the difficulty. And I just find the whole thing to be really cool. You're in this very unique world, and there's a map revealed. You're going around and looking for stuff. Pretty neat. Number 3 is the Great Wall. I really struggle with 3, 2, and 1. At any given point, you come back on this in a year, they could all be mixed up here. Even Tainted Grail might move up, like I said. But the Great Wall is actually different than many other games because it's a worker placement style game where you are together as a group defending the Great Wall, but you want to defend it the best. There's so many things I love about this game. The production is off the charts. The miniatures are great. The worker placement is unique and interesting. You're placing workers in different areas, but they don't go off till the whole area is full, or if you decide that it's going to go off on your turn. There's card placement. Then there's a whole war against the Mongols. Then there's the special abilities. You start with a special ability. You can get more special abilities as the game goes by, or upgrade your original one. There's a lot of cool things. Not a simple game to learn, but there's a lot of neat things going on. This game is just amazing. Number 2, Lords of Hellas. I mean, I mentioned Lords of Ragnarok being the sequel to Lords of Hellas. Well, Lords of Ragnarok may replace Lords of Hellas for me at some point, but until then, this is one of my dudes on a map style game where you have all these Greek soldiers running around, although that's like this futuristic version of Greeks. And you're fighting an area control war out on the board, but you're also trying to control temples. You're also going out and fighting monsters and going on quests and building these massive statues that come with the game. And once you add in some of the content, there are so many different choices and so many different things to play with. Every game is going to feel completely different. I don't think the game is overly long either. There's a lot of rules going on. Once you understand it, it plays pretty smoothly, but it is very fun and feels unlike any other game. Well, you could say that about most Awaken Realms games. And my number 1 is Ether Fields. Ether Fields, another big game, which is in many ways similar to Tainted Grail in that I play this with other people, but I mostly play this solitaire. And this is where you're going through dream after dream after dream. Once again, I play this on their easiest setting, but this one I like so much because each dream is so unique. I go through, you're going through this dreamscape, you're looking for keys, you go into a new dream, and in this dream, you never know what kind of dream you're going to have. You might be stuck in a mall that's empty, or is it? You might be stuck in a house, and there's a murderer trying to get you. There's all kinds of, some of them are, I mean, they're mostly dark dreams, but they're not necessarily all. And there's monsters in there. It's a deck building game. There's a lot going on in this, and I just find it to be so fascinating. This game is just over the top fascinating. And so there you go. I left off this list, and you can put this in at number, replace one of the other ones here. This War of Mine, which is one of their first games they did, because I think that game is a very fine game, but it's immensely sad. So as a special honorable mention, I'm going to mention this one. I don't think I'm ever going to play it again. I think it's a good design. There's a few problems with it, but there's mostly a good design, and it teaches you the struggles that regular people face when they're going through a war, which is tough, and this is something that we should all learn and know about, but it's such a depressing game. So keep that in mind. I just couldn't put it on my list because I don't think it's particularly fun, but then again, I don't think the game was made necessarily to be fun, based on a very popular video game. So there you have it. Anyway, until next time, these are my favorite Awaken Realms games. What's your favorite? It's probably Nemesis. Anyway, mention it in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you.